Welcome to Speech Sound Development for Parents and Carers, Session 2 of 2. Please make sure you have watched Part 1 first. This session should take around 20 minutes. The aim of this session is to think about how you can help your child at home and to give you an idea of what might happen next if you do make a request for a speech and language therapy assessment. Have you managed to make a note about words or sounds your child is finding difficult to say? Inty winty spider timed up the water pout. Down came the wind and what did bide out? Out came the dun and died up all the wind. The winty spider timed up the bout again. As you can see, speech sound difficulties can make things very difficult to understand, especially if the child is making a lot of errors. It is even more difficult out of context. For example, if the child is talking about a toy or character you might not be familiar with. Often we have to spend a lot of time working through the earlier stages before we can begin to work on making the sounds. We often need to spend lots of time working on listening to the sounds and hearing the difference between a target sound and other sounds. Children also need to learn where the sound is made in their mouth before they can make it. They will need lots of practice saying the sound on its own before we can start putting it into words. As the child gets better and more confident, they can start putting the sound into phrases and sentences. The tricky part is using the sound in words and sentences in everyday life. The child will need lots of encouragement and reminders to use their sound day to day. This is where parents and carers are crucial, as you are with them the most throughout all these daily routines, so you can be reminding them regularly in a range of situations. We are going to think about how you can help your little ones say the sounds. Firstly, we'll talk about the long sounds s and z. If your child is having difficulty with these sounds, sit side by side and use a mirror. Don't try too hard, keep it gentle. Get your child to watch you. Talk about the long sound. Try using a big smile with teeth together, hiding your tongue. To make f and v, you could bite your bottom lip and below. Use your rabbit's teeth. Again, encourage your child to watch and copy your mouth movement. For sh, go from a s but round your lips. Put your teeth together and blow. Put your finger on your lips like a baby is sleeping. Shh. Start with each of these sounds alone. S, f, v, z, sh, j. Then with vowels, such as su, si, va, vu. Then if your child is doing well, try single words. Start with very simple words such as sun or fun. Make sure your little one is watching you at all times so they can see what your lips, teeth and tongue are doing to make all the sounds. Once your child is doing well with the sound in a word, you can move on to phrases and sentences. If your child is having difficulty with k or g, we need to practice keeping the tongue down at the front of the mouth. To make sure it can lift up at the back of the mouth to make the k and g. Demonstrate a big wide open mouth with your tongue pressed down at the bottom of your teeth to let your child see how the sound is made. Often we encourage the child to use a magic finger to hold the front of their tongue down. This can really help a child make the k and g sounds. Once they become more confident, we can take that finger away so they can make k and g on their own. Many children miss the end sounds from words when they are talking. A good way to talk about end sounds with your child is to call them tail sounds. So we can talk about animals like cats and dogs and the fact that they have tails. Explain the animals would look funny without their tails and say that some words have sounds at the end too. If we miss the tail sounds from the end of our words, they can sound funny and they might not make sense. Having lots of visuals is very important. Try getting pictures of different animals with tails and cut the tails off to show your child there is something missing. It is very important to start with listening activities. Try words like mouse and say the two different ways, mow and mouse. See if your child can hear that there is a sound at the end and hear when the sound is missing. You can try this with lots of different animals like goose, shark, fish. If your child is missing the end sound, model it for your child. Say the word for them, slowly emphasising the end sound, like cat. Use the pictures to show your child there is a tail sound on that word. Use lots of praise and encouragement to prompt them to say the words with the tail sounds included. The best way to support speech sound development is to model the correct word or sound for your child. For example, yes, it is a cat, if they say tat. Try to avoid sounding like you're correcting them or telling them that it is wrong. Try to slow down your production of the sounds and really emphasise it for your child. You can show them how you made the sound. For example, I opened my mouth really wide to say that k at the back. Having photos and pictures can really help support speech development, as this makes it much more interesting. Pictures can help explain the concept of the sounds, such as long sounds, short sounds, back sounds, tail sounds. There are suggestions of websites at the end of this presentation, but photos of everyday objects that you can take are just as helpful. Try to keep speech sound development a very positive experience for you and your child. Emphasise the correct sounds, but do not ask your little one to repeat after you. Use encouraging statements or questions, such as, did you mean tea or key? Praise any attempts that your child might make. For example, you could say, well done, you tried really hard with that k. You did great listening there. I heard a lovely long s there, well done. If you really don't understand what your child is trying to say, look for clues roundabout to try and help you understand. So what have they just been playing with? Can you see what they were looking at? Were they pointing at something? Ask them to show you what they have been talking about. Could you show me? Don't pretend to understand your child if you haven't. Put the blame on yourself, for example. I didn't hear that very well there. Can you say it again? It's a bit noisy in here. I couldn't hear you too well. Sorry, my ears aren't working great today. Can you try again, please? So any words you have understood, you can repeat back. For example, you're telling me something about a park and mum. Then try and summarise. Did you go to the park with mum? This way, the child knows some of their message has been successful and they don't have to repeat the whole message. If you still don't understand, genuinely tell the child, I'm really sorry, I didn't understand. Could you try and tell me again later? Other fun strategies might be playing detective or using mime and gesture. This will also take the pressure off of the child always having to talk. There are lots of different games and activities you can try. You could create a scrapbook or a bag of box of items with the child's key sound, such as a key box with car, key, cat. You can try I Spy, using sounds instead of letters. For example, something that begins with F. You could go on a listening or sound walk. How many things can we find on our walk that start with a certain sound? And lots of mirror practice. Try out some of these strategies and games with your child at home. If you need any further help or advice, please contact your local speech and language therapy helpline. The helpline numbers are all listed on the following slide. We have also included some helpful websites you might want to look at. Here are our helpline numbers. Please contact us with any questions, no matter how big or small. You can also use this number to make a referral for your child. When a member of the speech and language therapy team speaks to you on the phone, we will listen to your concerns, we will try to reassure you, we will offer advice on how you can help. We may also advise that your child is referred to us for a full assessment. However, we might say that your child's speech development is normal and does not require assessment at this time. You might hear us say your child is too young, or maybe not ready yet for therapy. Speech therapy is not helpful when children are not motivated or cooperative. It is not helpful when children cannot physically say the sound and are not developmentally ready for therapy. It isn't helpful when children are not aware of any speech sound difficulties they are having. It's not helpful if children are not bothered about their speech and do not see it as a problem, therefore it will have no impact and they won't want to do anything to change it. Speech therapy also is not helpful when there is no therapy partner to work with a child. We need a therapy partner to work with the child and remind them whether at home or at school. Many children are not affected by their speech sound difficulties at all. They are unaware, they are talkative, they are confident communicating, they are keen to talk, they enjoy participating in activities that require talking, they are sociable and they have no literacy difficulties. If this sounds like your child, direct speech and language therapy intervention at this time could do more harm than good. The most important thing to do is try and stay calm and make talking and speech sounds fun. Enjoy having lots of special talking times with your little ones. Please call us on our helplines for any advice or look at our social media pages.